Well, hello, and welcome, people. Welcome to a TriCast, a tricontinental stream on your screen in front of you. We have myself, we have Burneye, and Paul Cook, and we are going to delve into some scientificness today. So, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here on whichever channel you're on. We're streaming on 4 channels. Bernie has to have 2 channels.
4 YouTube channels.
He's very competitive.
Paul Cook, AutoDidactic, Burneye, and my second crypto, Alchemist. And exactly. 4 channels and 3 different continents all tuning in from once right here. Some people might call this pseudoscience or fringe science. Others call it wizardry, commonly known as alchemy. And that's what today's lessons are going to be all about, is making the alchemical processes, alchem, which is really electric chemistry or electrolysis chemistry, and how to make the monoatomic powder out of metal elements, so gold and silver specifically, we're going to do today. And from the monoatomic, the rest of this water then absorbs molecules of the gold and silver, turning it into the colloidal waters. So this is how you get your colloidal silver water, your colloidal gold water, and all the medical benefits of that. I'm not making any claims myself. I advise looking into like NASA's patents as well as others' researches on colloidal silver, and we've all, I guess, heard of the legends.
We'll show the process, and you can Google what it does, because we can't mention many of those words.
Exactly.
So this is just a science YouTube. This is just a science video. It's all it is. Just showing people how to do science, because we have to trust
science that people can do, and that is essential before ever consuming any aspects of this stuff. For those that dare to, I don't recommend it, but if you do, first you're going to do scientific tests on plants and water your plants with the water before ever daring to consume it yourself, to make sure that it's been flushed properly, all the toxins are out, all the salts are out, and that you'll notice your plant getting healthy from the colloidal water. Then it's fair to use on your own.
Yes, just be very careful with what you say, Bertie. You're flying very close to the edge, mate.
As sold for pets, right? Like in pet stores, they use it a lot and recommend it.
Yes. And you too can become a consummate scientist.
I guess.
Right?
While I get the other camera set up a little bit, do you guys want to discuss the legends and origins of like monoatomic gold, and through Egypt, India, all of those aspects of it, the legends of it, and I will get things set up another camera angle.
Cool. That's throwing us in there without any prior knowledge of the fact that we have to now talk about monoatomic gold in ancient societies, but let's do it. I'm up for it. How about you, Paul? What does Kitty think, first of all?
Yeah, she's all right. She's up for it. She wants to try some of the monoatomic gold, didn't you, Gil?
All right.
There you go.
Oh, she's not saying much.
No.
Okay, monoatomics. Well, where do we want to start? We've got Ormus. We've got what do they call it? Like, is it prana? And the stuff that was falling from the sky when they were walking through the desert, what was that called?
I believe so. Mana, I think, was
mana
in the desert, but then it's prana in Eastern societies.
And then Ormus and all this stuff, and talk about white powders and stuff, and it all seems to be monoatomics. And a monoatomic is when you have one oxygen molecule, so you basically strip an oxygen molecule off, and it makes it good.
No, that's diatomic when you have the.
Am I saying the wrong thing? So what's mono? You have one what?
So mono is just a single atom of the metal.
No oxygen. Okay, cool.
So, well, oxygen as a gas is essentially monoatomic. All the gases are essentially monoatomic, but to get them in the Ormus state, they become ionized gases, which in reality is a plasma state of matter, and that's how it's activated in plasma for the gases. But for metals, all metals break down into this pure
So they're pure.
white
Wow.
material. And so this is a
Exactly.
single atom of gold or a single atom of copper or silver or zinc, whatever metals you're using on your anode side to break down, that turns into it. And then when it's activated with energy or like whether it's heat, electrical, motion, any size, the same as ionized gas, it becomes a plasma state and you get this superconductivity out of it. And ORMUS is a acronym for orbitally rearranged electron monoatomic atom, I believe, or something like that.
Wow.
Bit intense.
Sorry, go. That's a mouthful, isn't it, Burn?
Right, isn't it?
Well, what, we'll just call it almost for now.
Yeah, exactly. ORMUS it is. So to make monoatomic silver, you need 2 silver coins. 99.99% pure is the way to go. Any pure silver coins, especially when from like your government mints, like this was Canadian Olympic silver coins I'm using in these, or pure gold bars if you're going to be making monoatomic gold or colloidal gold. You want to use, once again, a pure 100% pure gold or silver. This one's already broken down. So this was a 10-gram bar of gold, pure gold, and it was on the anode side, and that's what erodes down off the anode side of this electrolysis reaction and directly deposits and turns into the pure white fluffy ORMUS or monoatomic matter at the bottom that is collected and harvested. And I first started reading into Sir Isaac Newton's alchemy writings and descriptions, and that's where I first saw him state that all metal matter or all metal elements can be broken down into their most basic, and he called it molecular state, I believe. Essentially, that's molecular, and
yeah.
what we're now stating is monoatomic, so single atom. All the covalent bonds of this third solid state of matter is now broken down into a solid fourth plasma state of existence in this white powdered material.
Okay. Oh. And that's because it's got no covalent bonds, is it?
Exactly.
So it's not anchored to yeah, that's interesting.
So another key crucial part of that I will show back over here is that where I learned from the Keshe Foundation is nano coating, and that's where you're breaking the third solid state of metal down. So these are copper, and you can break it down through corrosion, like lye material exposed to copper will break it down, or through flame, like a plasma arc flame hitting it will also break it down, and or through the electrolysis process that we're about to do as well will break it down, and it's breaking down all the covalent bonds of for this instance, copper elements to each other into an outer amount where nanostructure where there's only one single covalent bond attached to the outermost atoms of the metal remaining. And by doing that, it's then able to interact with the monoatomic plasma state matter and elements. And that when you combine the two, that's how a lot of this plasma free energy technology works out. And it's a huge part of the Keshe Foundation's science and technology.
So are all single molecules? That's what they are, aren't they? Like a molecule of gold? Is that a molecule or an atom?
Essentially, both the same thing in that case.
The same thing, yeah. Okay, that's why I'm confused. Are they? If it's not bonded to anything, if it's a monoatomic, is it essentially a plasma? Does it become a fifth state element? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, fourth state plasmids, exactly. When they're in that.
Wow.
And so another key part, you brought up oxygen earlier.
Is that how they make the star in the jar?
Yes, what you get it into that state, and then you start pumping more energy frequencies into the reaction, and then it'll create a plasma arc within it. And I've seen it done in other ways where the plasmids form from the frequency, and then that sonoluminescence starts within it, creating the star in the jar.
It creates an arc, so it creates a second point. So is that a wormhole?
Essentially, it's a plasma field. So it's that arc of electricity goes between the anode and cathode, and everything in between it becomes ionized.
Okay, you need the anode and cathode
plasma state, or this ionized state, and that's a huge part of Bob Greenyer's key research from the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project, ball lightning, and all the transmutations, cold fusion that happens in ball lightning. They call it EVOs, exotic vacuum objects, but it's not a vacuum, it's plasma. So it's plasma objects. Anything that gets exposed within this plasma energy ionized fields then is essentially going into a higher dimension of existence, and where all these transmutations, fusions, cold fusion happen. And supposedly also these time warp, dimension warp things as well start going from that.
We still get ball lightning because you don't hear of it much anymore. And you don't hear of spontaneous combustion anymore either, do you? It's like there's less electricity in the atmosphere or something.
Yeah, so another... Yep.
So how long would that process take then? Like if you've got the silver in your hand, to when it's good enough to drink.
It'll start making some in about 15-20 minutes. I'm going to set it up and show everybody a live reaction here. That's why I was going to get you guys to talk for a little bit while I set it up on camera and have it going. But the key part is that you can see the white layer there, the monoatomic, but then above it is this blue-green turquoise layer. And that's diatomic, because electrolysis is electricity going into salt water, and then it breaks the H2O into hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. And if you're doing it correctly, it will erode the anode metal side into this monoatomic state. But if done incorrectly or just disturbances happen, one of those oxygen molecules from the water, instead of turning into oxygen, instead bonds with the metal that your anode, and then becomes oxidized, diatomic, and that is where it then becomes poisonous and heavy metal poisoning occurs. And it's from the reaction of the electrolysis, that oxygen bonding on the anode side with the metal breaking down and turning into this blue diatomic stuff. And then the red, I believe, is like where it's hydroxide formed plasmid pieces. as well. So it's the oxygen and the hydrogen molecules bond with the metal, and then it's also becoming poisonous and a heavy metal particle as well.
That jar, man, just looks like, you know, the painted hills and that desert that's different colors, like, doesn't it?
Rainbow Mountain.
Oh yeah. So
Ben Balderson talks about, you know, the anode cathode is that there's the sun and the moon. I mean, if we had some massive reactor to, like, literally that's laid, like, because that just looks like what we see in photos of the deserts, doesn't it? Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
Doesn't it, right? The red and then the blue sky in between. That's a very good
looks
point.
Like a bit of red sandstone.
Oh, it's just freaky.
Right? Exactly. And I'm glad you brought that up, Paul. I was just about to say, one of the key experiments that I want to start doing is mixing these different, like, plasmid or nano particles, because that's also what all this is nanotechnology, and start mixing these monoatomics, Ormus particle stuff into geopolymers. And I'm guessing that's where we'll be able to make, like, the battery bricks and, like, the supercapacitors and all of these other metamaterials and building materials, just like the ancients did.
Yeah, that's right. There's already a chemical out for that, though, Burn, where you can turn a red brick, or you can turn something like that into a capacitor. Already, there's a chemical called PDOT. So there's two chemicals. You've got to put a primer on it. It does something to the molecules, and it allows them to act as capacitors inside the brick.
So I'm guessing what that essentially is doing is breaking it down, what Keshi calls nano coating it, but you're breaking down some of those covalent bonds to then be able to interact with this Ormus or plasma state matter. And I also theorize and predict that what they call quantum matter, it will be this plasma state matter. It's one and the same, just a different name for the same effect or same higher state of physical matter.
And
this is also where, like, super conductivity comes from, and all of that, but at room temperatures, not at extreme freezing or extreme heat, but just natural temperatures, like the universe and the world operates.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because we get told that alchemy's, you know, people trying to turn lead into gold, but clearly gold's got something to do with it, but they're not turning lead into gold. They were making probably monoatomic gold, right?
Exactly. I theorize also that the Philosopher's Stone is a combination of monoatomic gold and silver together. And it's because a lot of the drawings labeled Philosopher's Stone, there's two snakes coming up and being over top of, like, a pond of water. And one snake head is the sun, which represents gold in alchemy, and the other snake's head is the moon, which represents silver in alchemy. And that those snakes represent electrical current going into the water, the electrolysis process. And that is how you then make the monoatomic gold, silver Philosopher's Stone.
Wow, very cool.
Where did you learn all this, Burneye?
Over time. Oh, yeah, over time, reading a lot. rexresearch.com is a very good resource for a lot of the ancient alchemist works and like books, recordings, translations, and stuff.
What is it? REX Research.
You got it. Rex.
Is that Rex?
You want to open it up, maybe, Cambell, and share screen while I set things up? And then it was about 3 or 4 years ago now, at least. Oh no, actually 5 or 6 years, that Sir Isaac Newton's original alchemy writings were released to the public for the first time and translated into English. And it was the, I believe, University of Michigan that put out his description his alchemy writing descriptions, translations, and where I first read them. And I had got into making these materials, the Ormus, what Keshi calls GANs, which is another acronym for these monoatomics, and that is gas, atom, nano, solid state. So that's a gas atom, aka a single atom, in a nano, like the micro-sized solid state. It's the exact same thing as Ormus or monoatomic. They just all have their different words for it. And when I noticed some of this, what people call sludge, but just what's deposited, what breaks down off of the anode side, the nanomaterials of these metals, and what Sir Isaac Newton's 7 stages of metal transmutations, it's colors, 7 colors: green, red, white, yellow, black, and pink, which is also crystal state. And that I had essentially been creating all of these 7 states within my own experiments, and that I've been able to break down and turn about 10 different pure metal elements now into each of these colored particles and states, transmutational states of that he has described and written down. And so like the blue state is the oxide, the red state they call the mercury state or mercurial state, Isaac Newton as well as the ancient alchemists do. So I don't know, did transmutation happen? This one was strictly copper on copper that created this, and often I get this pure red colored material off of it, and it's what they call the mercury state. Anywho, there's also yellow, the sulfide state or the sulfur state, and when you have an electrolysis reaction going in, and you cut the positive inside, so the anode off, and just have the negative cathode going in with the current still active, it will turn all of the particles yellow instantly. The monoatomic or the diatomic, if it was white or blue, everything that's in the water simultaneously will just go yellow. And anything that touches the electrical negative side then turns into this yellow particle as well, which they call the sulfuric state. And finally, there's the pink state. And when you have the current live or keep a metal active in this salt water energized, or in this monoatomic material energized long enough, the metal itself will turn into this pinky red color, and it'll reflect light and grow actual crystals, transparent crystals on the outside of it. And that is the crystalline, fully energy active state that Isaac Newton states metals are able to be transmutated from one metal into another metal. And I fully support this thesis, hypothesis, technology of cold fusion. And I eventually want to test it and test my theory on it, that if you put in the right resonant frequency of energy through that electrolysis current of the metal, say if you want gold out of lead, and you have lead in this crystal pink state, and you put in the acoustic resonant frequency of gold and blast it on at that and make it harmoniously vibrating, resonating at gold's frequency, that then it will turn that crystallized, for instance, with this one, I think tungsten as opposed to lead, I theorize would work better because it's one molecule off, or one atom off of gold's weight. Tungsten's the closest. So that if you have tungsten in this pink state, you put in gold's resonant frequency, that the atomic hydrogen that is also being formed from the electrolysis reaction will actually bond with the crystal metal and transmute into that solid physical gold and come out of it like that. And I do believe that I have actually produced that result a couple of times in small amounts throughout my experiments in the years. It didn't last too long because it was more a fluke that created it, and I wasn't actually putting any frequencies in.
Is that when it's in plasma state? Is that when you've got a monoatomic in plasma that you can do that?
Yeah, exactly. So you have the metal submerged in the monoatomics and the diatomic material, and it will act. Then it will turn into this pink crystallized state. I can actually give you an example of that.
Have you tried playing frequencies for the duration of a experiment?
I have not yet. That's what I'm going to be working on in the next couple of months with both the Hutchinsons as well as Matthew Rife. And I just need to get a signal generator and a variac to be able to start doing that. And give me one moment. I will demonstrate some metal in this pink crystalline state.
All right, you got anything to say, Mr. Cook?
No, I'm just in awe, mate. I just can't believe it.
What kind of ore? Is it silver ore or is it gold ore?
Iron ore. Iron ore. Yeah, no, I'm looking to make this myself, so I'm just literally like soaking it all in.
Writing notes down, yeah. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? And this is, you know, again, and just to YouTube, if we do use the word consume, we're talking about plants, like using it, watering plants with it, because that's what this is all about. If you use it, it's for the garden, right?
Okay, right.
But it's interesting that it's such a hidden technology, right? Like it's like the lies about alchemy, and we've all heard of alchemy, but we've all got, you know, like I said before, right, led into gold, and we think it's about magicians and all this weirdness. And when I first heard it was electrolysis, I was just like, what? And then I was like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense.
So you can see here the copper wrap going in, the copper coil, and how pink and red it is there. And then also the aluminum here and how it's pink and red. And I have them both like half submerged and then up above into the oxyl jar, but oxygen, and then connected between two copper wires into each other. Thus, it's creating a differential between it and still a little bit electrically charged. And they're both connected down into this Ormus material. And this jar has been sealed for a couple of years now. And over time, it's turned all of both the aluminum and the copper into this red-pink crystalline state, this active state.
Is that solid, or like is that like a rock, or will it sort of break apart if you shake it?
Oh no, that's
it's like a crystal, isn't it?
And there's also a silver, a 1 ounce silver coin, connected in as well at the water line, and all three of the metals are in this red-pink crystalline state now.
And is that still getting a charge to it, or?
Well, it's in a completely sealed jar, but yes, there's a very small charge that I've created through the wiring, this essential circuit that I've created through this, as well as the triple solenoid copper coil connected through, also creates a little bit of electrical differential through the water and system as well.
Cool. So it's a self-running experiment.
For
this
those wanting
steampunk, isn't it? It's so cool.
Sorry, Campbell, I missed what you said there.
I said it's also steampunk.
It really is.
Coils and stuff. It's just, you know, you can imagine like a lab, but, you know, not a laboratory like we think of it, but like this kind of stuff and experiments and free tech and free energy devices and
right. And
all stuff you can make.
Is the Baghdad batteries, and they're essentially exactly this.
Yeah, right.
And I keep forgetting the name of the type of jar that's a battery.
Leyden jar.
Leyden jars, exactly. So like there just seems to be so much more to it, and that not that long ago this technology was widely used and developed and since been erased and hidden.
Well, yeah, Paul showed a few books like showing stuff like this in people's houses and stuff that they're selling, you know. Like literally
exactly.
And it wasn't that long ago, you know, like we you know, the more you look into it, the further, you know, the closer history gets, right? Like this stuff was around in the 20s and 30s.
It seems like World War II. That's when it was gone.
That's
World
what
War
wiped
II.
it all out, essentially. Yeah, the last real reset. So for those wanting to experiment with electrolysis alchemy themselves, all it takes is a simple, like, old phone charger, USB charger, that you cut the male end off of, which will give you 4 wires, and you obviously want the 2 power wires. The red positive is your anode, and that is the metal that will decay down into the ormus, the monoatomic material, and the negative black wire, which will power the cathode side of the reaction in it. And the white and the green are, I believe, sound, and that's the next step in my experiments. Will be connecting them and starting to broadcast frequencies into the reactions.
Nice. Oh, and what did we lose? A camera. We lost something. And yeah, I was thinking before, Bernie. I think you definitely need to start up the Bert and Ernie science show, right? Get science back in for kids. Like I remember when I was young, like we had this dude in Australia. He was called Professor Sumner Miller. He was this crazy like dude with his white hair, looked like a crazy scientist. But he'd literally show you all these really cool experiments, like stuff like this, and it was aimed at, you know, primary school kids. And that was just when I was growing up, and that stuff just doesn't even exist anymore. So it's yeah.
Right. And yes, I will be. It's in the workings. And
we remember the Curiosity Show. Did you guys have that?
No,
I don't
So
think
you guys are, yeah. I'm old, right? We had that as
well.
Mate,
I'm only a couple of years behind you, mate.
You're not, oh, well, you're more than a couple, but yeah.
How old are you then, Cam?
I'm older than you think.
Yeah.
So here you can see the silver, pure silver metal just broken through on this. This was used as a cathode side in the reaction before, and then what would be called the tarnished surface is actually the nano coating that forms from the electrolysis process on the cathode side and also on the anode side, where the anode side erodes more, and then the cathode side nano coats.
That's wise,
these
boy,
are
London
pure
man.
silver ounces, and the main issue when doing it is that you see here it's turned blue, it's oxidized a bit, and that's the remaining copper wire that was connected into the reaction that erodes away. So you can run it for about 12 hours where it will just be producing the monoatomic with the silver before it'll eat away at your copper and then start doing the diatomic.
Cool. And a big shout out and thank you to everyone who's been donating to Paul's channel.
And all of our channels.
Thank you very much. I didn't want to jump in and butt in and disturb you, Burn. So I was doing like hand symbols, like.
Yeah, I've seen a few pop up. So yeah, just to everyone. I think they're all on Paul's, but if you'd like to donate on Bernie's or mine, then just get off Paul's chat and come and give us. Actually, everyone, bring up another browser and go to each of the channels and give it a like. All right, and then you can close it.
All right. So right now I am connecting 2 silver coins to the anode side of this wire. A simple vice grip.
Okay, Dave.
So that was 2 silver coins with the wires in between, and just
with the negative, or the positive wire in between it on this one first.
Yep. Cool.
So where are these wires connected to, Burneye? Like the power source?
At the other end is just a USB, micro
and
USB.
I can put that in a normal plug, and that can go in the socket in the wall.
Yeah, literally, I am gonna plug it into just one of these guys right here.
Yep.
And plug it into the wall, and that's how I'm doing the process here.
Wow. So it can be done. It's something that can be done at home quite easily when you've got the material.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, USBs are great because they're such low amperage. It's like they're perfect for it.
Did you say USBs, Cam?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just making mental note of this because I'm gonna.
Yeah. So if anyone, and I'm sure everyone has USB cords, right, that don't work anymore. You just cut, the end off that's not the USB bit, strip it, and you've got a power source. And it's interesting, isn't it? Like with electricity, like how programmed are we that don't touch electricity? It's so dangerous. It'll zap you. Blah blah blah. Leave it to the professionals. And then the next biggest thing is don't put it near water.
Yeah.
So we've been very naughty.
Very naughty. But that's the thing, though. This is all done, and you get taught this early at school. They program you early at school. They make you fear of don't put your fingers in sockets, don't put electric near the water. So when you're at school, you develop that fear, and you carry that throughout your life. And even before I started learning electrics, like I noticed the difference because when I'd go near a train track, even though the train's live and I can step on the track, it's not going to do nothing to me because you have to connect the circuit, right? But when you was a kid, you didn't know that, and the fear would stop you going over there. You think, I can't go over the track because you thought it's going to get electrocuted. But the point of that story is you just put fear into you. They put fear into you. So you don't do things.
So we don't explore it.
Yep.
That's. I remember when I was like 11 or 12 or something. When I was young, I was watching a documentary and it was about this guy and he made custom cars. Like he was an engineer and people would say, I want a car for this. And he'd literally build them a one-off car. And I was watching it and I just had this epiphany that, oh shit, you can actually build your own car. Cause we just think the only way to get a car is you got to go to a car shop or you got to, go buy a car that's already been made by a big company. Right. But we can actually make our own stuff. And I'm sure this is what was happening back in the day with this whole steampunk movement, because every image we get of steampunk, nothing's manufactured off a conveyor belt. It's all different, all unique. Thank you, Daniel R.
Yeah, big up, Daniel. Thank you very much, my brother. Brother from another mother.
Brother from another mother.
Or sister from another mister.
Thank you, Eric Niner.
Eric Niner.
Eric Niner. Nina? Niner. Nina.
No.
Yes, sounds like a police car. Nina, Nina, Nina. Thank you for exposing the truth. All right.
Yeah, it's a group.
It's just bizarre, isn't it? Like what's gone on in the last couple of years, apart from everything else, like the fact that this research, we were literally researching resets and then one happened, then one hit. Like we were sort of looking into it like a year and a half before it, and then suddenly we're in one. And then suddenly all this, like, I just think, like, how could all this stuff that you've been showing, how could it all have been there that long and no one's,
I know.
I can imagine people stumbling across it, but no one's alerted anyone. No one's said anything. No one's written a book. It's bizarre to me. It's like, Are we on a different timeline or something? Like, what's going on here?
Again, I just think it's started from school, like your program. So when you see this stuff, it just dismisses it. Yeah, you just like it's there for everyone to see. It's just when you're aware of it, you can then you see it. But school makes you unaware of stuff. So that's what it is. Your program just to go to school, be a slave, be a sheep, pay your tax, go to bed. That's it.
Yep, exactly right. And that all comes back, like literally, that you can trace that directly back to the orphan trains and the orphans, and they were just, program, this is your reality, you go and work in a factory, and then over time the working age went up so that the programming time could get longer, basically.
Yeah, so, no, it's a madness, isn't it? I mean, have you looked at workhouses? And obviously, I know you have. I know you've looked at workhouses. I mean, in London, they had like children working in workhouses.
Yeah,
and a couple of months
ago,
have you looked
into the like what do you call them, like corporation towns?
Yeah,
like they used to build like whole villages and towns. Like there was a Hershey's chocolate town, and that was where the factory was, but also everyone who worked there lived there.
Yeah.
And basically they got free boarding, but then they'd go work 12 hours a day, and they had 14-year-olds and stuff working there. And it's literally how they introduced this whole paradigm of that's what you do. You just go to work, and that's just what you do down here, right?
Again, it starts at school, doesn't it? It starts at school. They program you. Like that's the goal at school, is to groom you into what you're going to be for the rest of your life, to pay tax.
Yep.
That's all it is. That's all it is.
It is, I know. So, to all the truants out there, congratulations. You passed the test. You skipped a lot of the programming. I actually got called in year 12 in my last year. I think it was my last year or my second last. And I had to go to the principal with both my parents, man. And I didn't know what it was about. I'm sitting there and they're like, oh, well, you've been away from school like so much that if you take another day off, we're not going to let you graduate. And my parents thought I'd been going to school every day. And I'm just like, oh, fuck. Here we go.
Another year.
Yeah, no. From then I just went to school and I graduated. So I didn't take another day off.
Yeah, I didn't even go to school in year 10, which is the second from last year. Didn't even go to school. I bunked it. I was playing poker and Monopoly with my mates with my dinner money every day. We'd go and nick a packet of Smash and some sausages from the shop. And we was only kids, 15, and then we'd go and cook that with some gravy, like bangers and mash, and go and play poker.
Wow, man.
Crazy, eh?
Oh, yeah, God. No. At least we escaped the programming.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's the main thing.
That's what it is. I went to like 7 schools, so like my schooling was.
Oh, I'm not muted right now, am I? You guys can hear me?
Yep.
We can hear you, Mr. Burneye.
Okay, so I've plugged it in now, and the 2 silver coins are the positive and the anode side up here. And then just to accelerate the process for the live demo right now, I actually used one of my triple copper solenoid, what Keshi calls Keshi pain pens, but they're essentially 3 copper coils inside of each other. And I've got that connected as the cathode side, which then creates a much larger electromagnetic field and accelerates the process. And you can see all the bubbling coming up off of that cathode side. That's the hydrogen being produced through the electrolysis process. And there's both big bubbles of collected hydrogen as well as very tiny small ones that keep flying up nonstop off of it all. And that's a major part of the science of free energy that we'll be going deeper into this year and actually figuring out, because there's atomic hydrogen isotope being produced, which is like essentially your monoatomic, your Ormus, your GANs hydrogen, and has probably unlimited nuclear cold fusion properties and field properties. And then there's also potentially hydrogen 4 gas, as well as hydrogen oxygen, aka HHO vapor mist state plasmid as well. And essentially one of those three or a combination of those three is what is referred to as Brown's gas, or what Stanley Meyer was able to create and harness and use for the water-powered cars, or what's called hydrogen-powered cars, but Brown's gas energy.
Which, of course, are
and
fake news, but
it can literally be made out of salt water as your fuel tank, the liquid you're carrying as a fuel, that then has this reaction happen right before the gas then gets pumped into the chambers of the combustion engine.
We're definitely gonna have to do a video on how to do that, on how to God, can we even say it? I'm scared of getting like bloody banned. On how to have an alternative source of power for the
hydrogen fuel. No, hydrogen fuel is the future, and it's a deep dive into hydrogen fuel, which even the European Union and Canada acknowledge is the fuel source of the future.
It. And it stops global warming, right? So there you go. Save the planet by watching that's what we're doing. We're saving the planet, global warming.
So you can see right up top here, right by the coin floating, is starting to accumulate this white cloud of material. That is, in fact, physical monoatomic silver. And that as the reaction keeps going, it'll start producing clusters and clumps. I guess it's called plasmids or plasmoids of this fluffy white monoatomic silver material. As the silver coins erode off the anode side, and then it'll eventually start condensing and particulating to the bottom, condensing just like I've got collected, demonstrated in this jar right here.
Look.
And the key is once it starts, you can there'll be enough that forms on the top layer that's still floating that you'll be able to suck out with the turkey baster and harvest, or a small syringe sort of thing, and you harvest it both from the top as well as what collects at the bottom. And you use these while the reaction is still going, and while it's still in this pure white fluffy monoatomic state, because it's kind of a dirty electric method that I'm using right now, because I don't have control of what frequencies, what voltage, what energies I'm putting in. And at this 5 volts that is I believe the standard amount coming out of this USB cord, it'll run consistently for anywhere between 3 to 12 hours of producing just the pure white stable monoatomic matter, and that you collect it during that stable initial form of the reaction before it then decays into oxidizing and producing the blue diatomic materials and other hydroxides and everything else that comes later on with it. And
cool. All right. So 3 things. One, when you say erode, like that just basically means that the covalent bonds are being broken and the oxygen's rising and the gold's for sinking, yeah?
Yeah, so erode or corrode, I guess it's the metal of the anode material that is breaking from its solid state down into absorbing into the water or the chemical reactions of the electrolysis, where the option is it either bonds and forms into an oxide with the metal, or a hydroxide with the metal, or forms into oxygen O2 gas and bubbles up, and then the metal that is breaking down remains into this pure white monoatomic state.
Cool. And also, could you get a voltage meter thing that you could plug the USB into, so that you could get a positive voltage and you'd know what you're putting into the
Yeah, I'm going to be going like deep into that technical side of it and controlling it all and working with that and advancing it in the coming next month or two here. I'll be doing specifically upgrading the equipment and tests on that. I'm demonstrating here as well. So this was the pure monoatomic gold. It was white when I made it, and that is directly what corroded or eroded off of this 10-gram gold anode bar. And it was this fluffy white material when I harvested it. But I also left the full water from that reaction in it instead of flushing it out. So this is a crucial step that I forgot to say. So when you first harvest the monoatomic with like a
turkey baster,
syringe, or whatever, you then empty it into a glass or jar of half full fresh water and start rinsing the salt and the other materials out of the rest of the water that the monoatomics are in. And this is key because there's still pure metal. So for instance, pure gold that's dissolved into the water from that reaction. And then so the water becomes saturated with the gold metal itself. And it's not monoatomic gold. Essentially, it's bonded solid gold with the water molecules. And then as the reaction settles, the gold, saturated gold in the water will then crystallize and precipitate out of the water into the solid material around. So usually there'll be a thin layer of foil gold on the inside of the jar, as well as the gold crystal, nano crystal particles bonded with the white monoatomic material. And I believe it's become some sort of diatomic or plasmid particle of a single monoatomic gold, as well as a crystal nano particle of gold bonded together.
Yes. So it's basically it's like it's almost like it's electroplating, like leaving a layer on the bottom.
Exactly. That is electroplating. It's 100% the electroplating.
And, so you're converting the gold basically from the anode to the bottom there, but in a lot of the experiments, like the material that you get seems to be more than the material you started with.
Yeah, that 100%. That is known, like quite often recorded process of all of through these reactions, especially with gold and silver. They get it, and the mass, the volume is often exponentially more, like just the amount of powder that comes out of just a small little chunk of dense metal is like exponentially more. But that, like you said, sometimes it doesn't even fully, the mass of the anode and cathode doesn't decrease to the same mass of the ormus that is formed, sort of thing.
Yeah, so you're creating matter out of
more matter out of nothing, essentially.
Out of thin air, right? Because when I was talking to Benjamin Balderson the other day, he said that there's people out there, and he said they're actually showing it as the way to make colloidal silver is using 2 silver coins on like the one on the anode and one on the cathode. And he said someone was doing it, and they ended up with this really big buildup that was about double what they'd started with, and it seemed to be like the gold. I'm just wondering if like, is there a way, like, could you literally produce gold or silver like out of thin air?
Potentially, and that has to do a little bit more with some of my other experiments that I will be doing with actual gold ore connected to the anodes and cathodes and growing the crystals out of it, as well as once I get signal generator and Variac to control the different frequencies and energies of it to see if we can do that.
Because you've got to turn it from a monoatomic back to like a covalent bonded physical gold, don't you, really, for it to be worth anything and usable? So, but I'm wondering, like, that the frequency is, if there's a frequency for gold.
Yeah, the resonant frequency, you got it. And a couple of fellow alchemists I work with, both Jeremiah Pop as well as Michael Esoteric Gold, they do the chemical process of this alchemy and being able to break down the metals, and have made the monoatomic gold through chemical reactions instead of where mine's the electrical reaction. They do it the old school chemical wash process of it, and they've actually successfully also converted the monoatomic gold back into physical solid metal solid gold.
Wow.
And I'm going to be doing some experiments with that and trying to replicate the process myself.
Wow. I mean, just a random thought. I wonder if all these domes that we see that are covered in like gold and stuff, I wonder if that's just, you know, a result of a reaction that they're doing, and they've actually been, you know,
100%, Campbell. That's a good point, right? Not places of worship, but workshops, and that they came to. There's a lot of the stories of, I believe, the time. I think, is it in the Jewish like Old Testament or Talmud or something, but with Moses, Akhenaten there, when they left Egypt and went in with the Ark of the Covenant, built their Holy of Holy spots, that there was the Machta or the manna, and could have been a process of it, as well as actually before that, all of dynastic Egypt, where their temples, there's lots of records and stories of the white powder that came from there, and that the white powder was this manna energy source of the gods or of creation.
They're literally eating it because and then that's represented by the, you know, the Christian little white cakes, and other religions have like bread and stuff that's white that they sort of. So I wonder if it used to be originally cooked into some kind of
bake it into the food, but did they put that into the holy water? Was the holy water the colloidal water that forms from these monoatomics?
Yep, exactly right. I mean, because this is the thing. Like, I wonder if is that what the origin of bread is, and because, you know, like wheat's, you know, it's not that good for us. And when you look into the history of the plant of wheat, it seems to be a genetically modified plant that was introduced in the 1600s sometime.
Right? Like,
it's very weird.
It truly is. And the more I was so skeptical of all of this stuff and like the ancient legends that when I first got into all of this and studying all of this, but the more I read of actual alchemists, like science books and like experiments, processes and everything, the more I'm convinced. They constantly spoke in a knowledge of fact that there was this palpable, aka edible gold that was in white powder, and it was the palpable gold of the ancients before them and their high technology, and that some of them, they would always talk about how they weren't allowed to talk about the process of making it, but then some of them like would anonymously publish different ways of making palpable gold and this white powder. And then there was many published warnings on processes not to do that seemed like it created this white powdered metal, but in fact it was like a poisonous type of the white metal. And when I read it now, it's like explaining that it's like the calcified state of the metal. So it's a different chemical compound. It's not a monoatomic, it's a diatomic particle, most likely a calcium compound, as opposed to just a pure metal element.
Is this
okay.
So when you were talking about rinsing it, putting half water in and rinse, how do you rinse it? How do you rinse water?
Good, very good question, Campbell. Good sir.
Sounds like a paradox, doesn't it?
It does, right?
Rinse water.
How do you do that? Well, you put the water in, and then you pour the water out.
Well, yeah. So actually, best way to demonstrate.
So basically, and when you say rinse, is that like diluting? Is it like you're diluting it to half, then getting rid of half of that water?
And actually, what you want, I said half full when collecting it from the reaction itself, because it'll be fluffed up and it won't be condensed like it is settled here in this jar. So
okay, that's why
what you essentially want to do when you're rinsing it is be able to pour out all of this water. Oops, sorry. There we go. All of this water, and leave just the remaining monoatomics at the bottom, and then fill it all the way up again. And let's actually just do a demonstration. That's easy enough.
Big up, Susan.
So, and I make sure when I make it, I rinse the monoatomics or the ormus 9 times fully. Flush it, rinse it 9 times before starting to use the colloidal waters to start watering my plants and my animal, and eventually myself that I test myself onto. So you can see here that it's just the monoatomics remaining now.
Yeah.
And you have the pure water right here. So this pure water is what is now referred to colloidal water.
So when you rinse it, do you keep both parts? Because you'd essentially be making double the amount, right?
Sorry, say that again?
When you rinse the clean water, you're adding like the same amount of water again, and then mixing it and then splitting it. So do you keep both parts? Are you literally doubling every time you do it? You're doubling your amount of what you've got?
1 second. So if you wanted,
and sorry,
you know, you have clean water, tap water. I just use my clean Canadian tap water. Preferably you want spring water and or distilled water if you want to do it from a scientific method, or purest method possible, use distilled, but for this case I'm using
at least
tap water. So I filled the jar back, or the bottle back up. So now the monoatomics, the ormus, is
you're filling that bottle back up. Okay, I've got you. I was thinking
and
you
it will eventually settle back down to the bottom again.
Okay.
And
gotcha.
It's that you never ever. Here we are.
So what you've got in the glass there is now after it's been tested and tried, so it's now usable for your plants, basically.
Exactly. And you can see that it's starting to settle from the top, and I'll leave it focused on this for the next few minutes as it settles and recedes back down. It's quite fascinating, this fluffy stuff and how it acts. But it'll settle all the way down. And when you're rinsing, flushing it 9 times, you let it settle for at least 12 hours. I usually do 24 hours, a full day, before doing another rinse. So it'll take 9 days of rinsing it before you get the final clear colloidal waters that are usable for plants, and that you can bathe in that salt water. Apparently, I'm not not health advice, and if it turns blue, that's diatomic, so don't. But if
wow, there you go.
Anyways, I should just refer to people to the Keshe Foundation. Keshe Foundation for stuff you can do with it. But if you try to water your plants off the first several rinses of it, you're going to kill your plants from just the salt content remaining in the water.
So you can only use it from
dump
the
all of the
rinse.
first 6, 7 rinses out, and after the 9th you can start using them
after the 9th
for watering plants.
And then how many times can you rinse it after you've hit 9? Can you just keep refilling it?
Exactly, absolutely. So every single day I drink a full amount of this water of it and refill it, so that it recharges, remakes this colloidal silver. So in this mixture right here, I have monoatomic gold, monoatomic silver, monoatomic copper, and monoatomic zinc. Those 4 metals in equal parts. I made each of them zinc on zinc reaction, copper on copper reaction, silver on silver reaction, gold on gold reaction.
You're going to turn into Iron Man.
Mixed all 4 of them into this amount, and that it remakes this colloidal water, usable colloidal water, every single day, essentially absorbing a small amount of those plasma state metals out of this into the waters. And
wow. So obviously you've researched in there for metals that we need in our body. That's why you're making that mix.
Exactly. It's from the Keshe Foundation's recommendtions, and over a decade of tests of them drinking these waters and doing it, that I've come up with my own and started doing it.
Is that KesheFoundation.com?
So here, I'll put it in the live chat. KESHE, Keshe Foundation.org.
Okay.
But they also have KFSSI.org as well. Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute.org is their second site. And what's hilarious, I'm not actually part of their inner work groups, but from what they've disclosed to the public, their spaceship space pods are actually these field machines that you go into, and then it projects your consciousness around the universe or something.
Wow. Is that old world tech? Is that what those weird photos are when you see faces in the psychic machines? Did you finally name your cat, Paul, and now it's called Girl and instead of Cat? Now, what was it called? It was called Cat.
I didn't have a name for her, but because I just kept calling her Girl, like, come on, Girl, hello, Girl.
Girl.
She responds to Girl now, so it's just Girl. So I think Girl. She's over there, look.
All right. Almost got a TikTok cat video going. Crazy cat.
I'll tell you what, when I go to Malta for a couple of days and I come back, I'm going to film that because she sleeps with me. She sleeps with me. She cries when I leave. She don't want me to go anywhere.
Yeah,
but when I come back after a few days, she's gonna be one of them. One of them things that goes viral because the cat's going mad.
Yeah. When you come back, she'll be like clinging onto your leg as you walk around the room.
Yeah. She loves me.
Yeah.
Chasing her tail.
Well, I hope no one misgenders her, because, geez.
No.
Like Girl. If someone calls her a boy, I think you're going to have to go for it and TikTok them, get them cancelled.
Yeah. Pronoun on a cat.
Pronoun on a cat, man. What are her pronouns? Girl.
So you can see already how fast this has settled the exclusion zone of no particles, the clear, pure water compared to the monoatomics or the Ormus, and like it's just so fluffy and like it's a different state of matter. It is plasma state and just fascinating stuff.
Well,
and supposedly when you rotate this material at several thousand RPM, it starts actually projecting a physical plasma field that you can interact with, just like I've seen some videos of the Keshe Foundation's like highest test reactors where it looks like a giant ball lightning field that's created around them.
So what's the deal with mercury? Is it possible to do this with mercury as it's in a liquid state, or is that the only metal that can't be monoatomic?
So I predict it is, and that you just connect your anode charge to the liquid mass of metal that will be at the bottom of the water.
Yeah.
And just have an insulated wire going into it.
That'd be interesting, because when you said spinning it in a vortex, like what are they called? A centrifuge? Is that what it's called?
Centrifuge, no.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we hear was a power source for Vimanas and things, right? Spinning mercury.
Exactly, right? I fully agree, and there's so many more tests that I will be doing over the coming months this year with it all. There's so many more ways to level it up, and just rediscovering this ancient science and technology of alchemy that clearly was higher science, higher technology. It was alchemists were their entire medical system, their chemistry system, their
maybe that's what the palaces were. I'm always trying to work out what the palaces were with all the big gardens. Maybe they were full of alchemical stuff, and they were making water and watering the garden with it.
100%.
Because people weren't living there, that's for sure.
Like alchemists were responsible for most fields of science.
And it's just bizarre that it's so simple. Like literally everyone could just have this going in there. It's not hard at all, right?
Exactly.
We've been taught that it's this big, weird, strange thing, and they try and link it to like magic, so it becomes, like a fairy tale and not really real.
Pseudo this and that, and it's wizard, it's not true, and everything. Yeah, they just don't want people knowing the truth and how advanced it was. And another major part of ancient alchemy was the oils, or the essence of like a herb or an animal, a mineral, anything like that. And what they were doing was collecting the actual oil chemicals, the amino acids, the DNA, the different what's the word?
Particles,
I guess medicines, but like just chemical components of plants, and
what are they called when they used to sell it? Apocryphes or something? I don't know. But I mean, we've been taught that all food is chemical. I mean, as in, we need whatever, right? Bits of calcium that are in an apple, so you eat it and then you get it. Like it's like balls, right? They're into their balls. They want us to think it's like balls sort of floating around that I don't know what they're supposed to do then. But it's all much more frequency and electrical. I look at it more as food is full of like keys, right? And they go in and they unlock locks, right? They unlock stuff so it can work. And then so when you have this dead food, nothing unlocks, and that's why people get full up with stuff, and nothing works, and they start getting sick. But they want us to think it's all about calories, right? Calories and kilojoules, and everything's this physical,
Yeah, that's why they've done that, though. Really, they made you focus on calorie intake, protein, and carbs, and the reason they've done that is so you don't focus on the quality of the food. That's why they've done that.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah. So we don't see the food as the food. We then see it as a part of a
number.
group
I
of
need to hit
foods or a
2,000
number.
calories a day. I need to have X amount of protein. I need
Exactly.
to do this.
When in fact it's the energy and the frequency of it.
And the thing is, short term, like that would actually work if you changed and you were going on that, but you'd be getting unhealthy as you lost weight. It's not because you're getting healthier, it's because you're getting unhealthy that you're losing the weight.
I've been doing a lot of research recently on food, and it's all to do with your gut biome. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's all about harvesting. It's all about harvesting all the little bugs in your stomach and keeping them happy, because they're the ones that create the chemicals for everything in your body to work. Exactly. It's literally, it's like your brain. Your stomach, you're not your stomach. Your gut is your brain, really.
Yeah, well, if
you got to trust your gut.
Yeah. Gut feeling, right? Yeah, go with your
honestly,
gut.
I can't believe what I've been learning over the last few days about food and the gut.
The gut's the third, isn't it? The third biggest nerve complex in the body after the brain and the heart.
Yeah.
The organ, yeah.
I think serotonin is created in the gut. Did you know that?
Oh no, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, that would make sense because it's got a direct link to the brain.
Yeah, serotonin is made in the gut.
Yeah, wow. I mean, and this is the thing. If we were taught to look at your gut as like a factory, right?
Yeah.
It's like a factory, and so it needs these materials, so that the workers can do the right thing. Then it's a completely different way to look at how we feed ourselves.
Completely different. I've literally changed my whole everything. Since I've been learning about this stuff, it's changing my life. It's changing my life. I definitely don't want to go near antibiotics ever again.
Well, I mean, look at the word antibiotic.
Yeah,
anti is against, and bio is life.
It literally, and it's by definition, it kills life. Like your antibiotics, you have to eat when you take your antibiotic. Why? Because you have to dilute it, because it's going to kill all of the bacteria in your gut, including the good ones.
Exactly. Yeah, and then they just say, but that's all right. Just have this pill, and it'll regrow your bacteria and all this. All that, like, what is it? Acidophilus and bifidus. Aren't they bacteria or something that we need in our guts? That's what they want us to think.
Yeah. Bacillus. There's a few of them. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've just been going towards all gut food recently, man. I didn't used to really have, but you're actually meant to have fermented food because it's for the gut.
I was just about to say fermented's a big one, isn't it? Like sauerkraut and kimchi and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's something I need to get into.
Yeah, we got pushed away from fermented food. Right. Well, what I've been previously, like I was told to stay away from fermented food, but it turns out like it's really good for the gut. And you've also got Natokinesis as well, which is really good. I don't know if you've heard of that.
What's that?
It's called let me just make sure I'm saying it right.
So yeah, guys, get into some fermented foods, and apparently you are.
Look, so it's called Natto. Where's the camera? Oh yeah. Basically, it's this here apparently can get rid of blood clots in hours, absolute hours. So when I was reading up on it, it said you've got like one of the biggest veins in your leg. If that's clotted, that can get unclogged in 2 hours with one of these tablets. What? And if you have a heart attack, this is better than anything they could do in the hospital. Apparently, it breaks down all the stuff in your veins.
What? What's it called?
It's called NAT.
Put it up again. NATT.
Yeah, look.
Nat.
Yeah, I think it's Japanese fermented soybean.
Oh, okay. So it's a fermented product. Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, if you've got any problems with like your arteries or anything like that, this is meant to like clear it out.
And does it do that by rebuilding the stuff in your gut, or by actually like is it like?
I think it breaks down the stuff inside. I think it goes into your blood and breaks it down. Wow. Yeah, I don't know the science behind it. I just know that I've read up on it and done some sessions or like looking into it, and these are the ones.
Yeah, I'll have to look into. into that, because I know fermented foods are good for you, but I'm not sure what the process is. It's clearly when you ferment things, they create other elements, right? They give off gases and stuff. That's what they do. So clearly something's being produced in that process that's good for us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering
Definitely.
what it is. There we go, guys. Fermented. Don't get demented. Eat fermented.
Get fermented. Unless you had too much of that fermented sauce, and then
your farts might be a bit demented.
I was thinking alcohol, and you'll get a little demented off of
out of the bar. You will be scented.
Sorry. So right now I just hooked up the second jar there, where it's a zinc on zinc reaction. And in this one, it's a bit pink because I added a couple drops of my blood into it. And the key aspect, I'm halfway to homunculus, all right? Halfway.
Please don't try and create your own species at home, people.
Yes. If it wasn't for the last requirement of homunculus, I'm not a sicko, so not going all the way there. Unless I'm donated $1 million on only cams, then you'll be able to watch me spunk off into a jar.
Oh, dude, no, not again. Dude, you said that last time.
Just kidding.
This is a children's show.
Nobody knows what I was talking about.
What did you say, punk? You were going to grow a mohawk? Okay. I think that's what you
said. The key part to observe is the jar on the left, the monoatomic silver, the white condensed stuff that's forming around the coins there on the anode side. That mass is below the water line, and it's in the water where that white powdered material is forming, and then you can see some bubbles above it, above the water line on it at the very top.
Yeah, on the surface, sort of, yeah.
Yeah. I guess I'll try to give a better little picture. So it's like right here, but it's in the water, it's below, and that is the monoatomic silver, where in this one you see all the white forming, but it's above the water, it's bubbling. And that is actually supposedly my amino acids and my DNA being replicated off of the cathode side, and that it's actually remaking monoatomic my cells, like my structures, my monoatomic, my nanostructured material. And that is the same these structures, then these amino acids have the same resonant frequency as my biological cells within my body, and that when you combine the two monoatomics with each other and then amplify the fields, you're going to get an exponential increase of field energy going in, and that is supposedly how you harmonize your cells and heal them, like the Rife technology, the monoatomic gold demigod technology, and the Keshe Foundation's plasma energy. And I learned of this first from the Keshe Foundation, that it makes this off the anode or cathode side when you put some of your DNA in. And I'll upload and do an experiment recording that I've done it a few times before, just never put it on the internet, where I'll have the reaction going where it's just in the water, and I'll put one drop of blood down in, and you'll see the blood hit the water. And the moment the blood hits the water, it doesn't matter where in the surface area it touches, on the cathode side, simultaneously, it starts producing a white flake, this white powdered material, along with the hydrogen bubbles going up. So now you see it's a little bit whiter. You see more of this atomic hydrogen. It's because it's also got a parallel amino acid structure with it on it, going up, and that's what's creating the foam and replicating my own biological signature in it. And you can see all of the monoatomic zinc now also forming within the second reaction of the zinc on zinc monoatomic.
So is this how they created the latest Joe Biden? And did they maybe use like a lead cathode, and that's why he's not quite right?
Right? Like,
is this where all the clones are coming from?
More than likely, you're 100% onto that. I have stumbled onto the technology and process of creation, and that's why alchemy.
This is how you're doing so many live streams and stuff, isn't it? There's more than one Burneye. It's weekend at Burneye. Oh, hang on, that's not about funny.
Darn it, you found out my secret. There's multiple Burneys. I've already cloned myself.
Yeah,
Multiplicity.
And also in this second jar, making the monoatomic silver aspect, you can see it starting to get a lot cloudier and white within it, and that is the monoatomic plasma silver that is forming off of the silver coins as well. That will start condensing into it. And look at how much of this foam has now
freaking me out,
been generated in just like 5 minutes time since I plugged that one in.
That's ridiculous. And what is that? Is that like a powder, or is that like a foam?
Yeah, it dries out to a powder. It both. So you harvest it off the top, you skim it, you get it with the spoon, and it's both an oil as well as a bit of a powder, both form. So
you too can rub Burneye on your face.
Well, that's the thing is if you're going to, from a theoretical health position, you would only want to make and use this material for the same person whose DNA, RNA, amino acids are in it, and it could potentially be harmful if you're amplifying that same resonant frequency to somebody else.
Because
you want the matching the whole ones.
Frequency, doesn't it? Because it's literally we're watching it as a physical, experiment or whatever, but it's actually not. It's actually frequencies and stuff, energy.
So a key part of the Keshi technology is these coils, and once you have it nano-coated, so you break down those outer covalent bonds, you then coat this coil with your amino acids and the monoatomics, and then it's going to be, you pump a bunch of energy through the coil afterwards, and you're going to be creating a giant plasma field of your own resonant frequency energy, as well as that gold and silver plasma state energy.
But we're going to have to do a show on how to make the coils as well and do stuff like this. But that's interesting because with all this nanotech and all this, bloody nano coding and all this stuff we're hearing about, it sounds so high tech, and they always want to make you think that you need, $1 billion factory to be able to produce this stuff, but clearly it's just a chemical, an electrochemical reaction, right?
Exactly, right? Like, it was so intimidating hearing about it for like the first few years I was watching it until I started doing it. It's like, oh my God, it literally costs like $5 worth of material of like copper, salt, water, and a cord and a glass.
And that's it.
And yes.
So all they've got to worry about, is what's getting laid down. They've just got to get that right, and then it's just turn the machine on, and it just does it itself, right? It does it for you, and then they go, "Oh, this is high technology, $10,000, a ton or whatever."
Right. So a couple key aspects are that if your material ever turns blue, it's now poisonous, and you especially don't want to even touch it because it's still nanomaterials, nanoparticles, and it will absorb through your skin and you will very quickly develop heavy metal poisoning. You always want to wear gloves when touching this electrolysis stuff and harvesting it. And anything but the pure white state is only the white fluffy state is monoatomic. Everything else is diatomic, triatomic, or higher up particle combinations, and will are most likely poisonous heavy metal accumulation that you'll suffer from it. This right here is silver gold mono or diatomic combination, and it turns purple. And gold is also known for it. When I made gold with some hair and gold with some blood in it, it always turns the monoatomic into a di or triatomic purple color. And when you do silver and gold together, it also makes it go purple. So I have never... here we go. To illustrate the different colors. If you don't know what you're doing and you're not sure, leave it alone, because it's probably poisonous and going to kill you, sort of thing. And my
or
next
your plants, which we're trying this on.
Exactly. That's what I was just going to say, is my next tests are this spring. I'm going to start out is testing a bunch of seeds and growing plants with the different colloidal waters of whether the pure white monoatomic, the purple, the gold where it's crystallized into a nanoplasmid, or the blue oxidized diatomic. And we'll see the different growth rates of the same seeds and the same plants with the different types of colloidal waters. I will also have control of just the ordinary tap water. And I'm also going to do one more control test that will be ordinary tap water, but that's microwaved water.
Oh, okay. That'll kill that plant.
Right? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So then we'll see if the purple or the gold colored waters.
Yeah, which works better. That's an interesting. I mean,
Yeah,
and I
if
wonder
they're
if you'll
harmful
find
to
out
plants or if they accelerate them and whatnot, and also the reddish colored.
This is the thing. There could be a metal for that's better for saplings, and one that's better for fruiting, or there could be different, families of plants that go better on different metals. So that'll be an interesting experiment. Revolutionize the permaculture game.
Exactly.
And of course, this is going to be an ongoing thing, and Burneye is going to, over the next few weeks, get together a list where you can go if you need any of these, any of the bits and pieces to make these experiments that we're going to be going through. We're going to sort it out, so we'll have somewhere where you can go and find them at a good price.
Yeah. Exactly, a source of all of the full list of materials to do the different processes and experiments we do on each video.
And you can support your local Burneye in the process.
Exactly. We will also cover this one on our next episode together. Paul and Cambell, we should book it within the next week here, because originally a while back, Paul, you were finding a whole bunch of alchemical symbols on the different cathedrals and stuff like that. And I will go through... That was
supposed to be our original talk about 18 months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, right?
Longer than that.
Cambell, that video I checked out, it was at 15,000 views a month ago. Now it's down to 6,500.
What?
Yep.
Oh my God.
How come?
YouTube just robbed us, basically.
But yeah, they've done that to me the other day.
It's probably just the reach. It's probably plays with the algorithm so that it then doesn't get shown to as many people, because it would come up as not as popular or something.
Well, that's what they're doing now, but before they were just straight up deleting views randomly off of it, like halving
they're
them.
still doing it. Yeah. But I mean, I wonder if that's so that
you could see it where it was like, oh, you're up this many, and then like in one day you just lost like 500,000 views, sort of thing. Like Jeremy Reese, alien scientist, I got pictures of it the day he magically lost 3.5 million views.
Yeah,
I know, right? Subscribers.
Yeah. But you see, the thing is, the way their algorithm works is they've changed it, and this is why everything's about, going viral. Interesting word and term, right? It's all on click rate when you click on how many people click on it when they see it, and then how long they watch it. So if they go in and get halve the views, then their algorithm says, oh, it's only been watched half that amount of time. It then gets downgraded unless people see it.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, they don't have to pay us for revenue. Advertising revenue as much either.
They're doing that. Yeah, they're the little ones. Like Paul was, well, no one's seen that. We've seen it, but yeah, like when they're taking 100 views here and 1,000 views within the month it was released, that's literally taking revenue. But even in the future, we still get paid on. But it's all
What about me the other day though?
But when they're taking the 100,000 views, I think that's more to downgrade the channels.
Yeah.
To limit our view, our reach. Bloody PooTube. Get your act together, mate. Come on, where's bloody...
You can see there's already an inch of foam of my amino acids off of this one now.
That's crazy, man.
And zinc operates a lot faster. You can actually see there's a decent amount of the monoatomic powder condensing, collecting here at the bottom. And it's starting to form a bit here on the silver. It's getting super saturated to the point that it will start to particulate at the bottom.
And this is the thing. I mean, it's just an interesting experiment just to use any anode and cathode, right? And just to sort of see how stuff's formed and that. So you can start wherever you want, just sort of play around. Just obviously, don't consume it or give it to your plants to consume, and wear gloves. But it's just interesting that where's all this stuff coming from, right? Where's this powder coming from? And is that how clouds are formed? You're on mute, Burn.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Clouds have to be this plasma monoatomic state. Hey, Paul, brother, just at the bottom where you're posting comments on the left-hand side, it says all. If you want to just click on it and go onto your channel as you've been posting it all. Every comment you've done, post 4 times on all 4 of our channels.
Oh, I don't do that.
Where you're typing your comments in, post a comment.
Yeah.
Right to the left of it, it says all, and there's a little down arrow.
Yeah, I've got it. So just from me, I did think that was a bit weird.
Yep. Yeah, yes, sir. Wicked. Sorry, I should have gotten on that earlier for you.
Wicked.
But now I'm going to life hack it and post to all of them. Please subscribe to my channel if you would like more of this knowledge.
Yes, go across and sub to Burneye. Needs some more subs.
And then I will also post Cambell's and Paul's for all of them.
Yes, and if you're on my channel, the links are in the description for both the other channels. Make sure you're subscribed. And I've seen Bernie's been putting some new sort of shorter content up, so he's going to get into it this year, right? And we're going to get into sort of getting this information out there and giving you the tools so you can set up a crazy scientist laboratory in your own shed and become an alchemist in your own head.
Bars, mate. You got bars, Cam.
I know, right?
You should write a song. Cool, you're doing only cams, rapping, YouTube. God, mate.
I'm multi-talented.
It's going to be a segment of our next Science of Sound podcast episode.
I'll get some spoken word together. Actually, yes, I could do some good ones.
Yeah, we probably
There's
could
a
put a
man
video
called Fauci. He wants you to take his ouchie.
Yeah.
But don't for that fall. Just kick him in the balls, and then just get really grouchy.
All right. Okay, last little thing here. I guess, as I know, Paul, you got to take off soon.
Yeah, we're hitting almost.
We're almost at 2 hours.
Yep.
The alchemical symbols. There is 3 laws. The first one is the top left, where you see there's the sulfur, and it's a triangle going up with a cross underneath the triangle.
Right.
And then the middle is salt, and it is a circle with a line going through it. And the third symbol is mercury, and it's an ecliptic portion circle, like an upside down crescent moon on top of a full circle with a cross underneath it. And what I have deciphered is that the sulfur is your cathode reaction, so your negative current going up and all reactions happening off of the cathode side. The salt itself is your electrolyte water, the material that the cold fusion, alchemy, electrolysis, transmutations are happening on. And a lot of the time, when I run these reactions, and sadly it's not doing it quite right now in the 2 I have running, but quite often it will create 3 layers. One at the top that's about half the jar that is the bubbly material and like some of the monoatomic stuff, and then there'll be a tiny, like about 1/3 of a centimeter space that is this little exclusion zone, in science known as the easy zone, where no particles at all are in. And then at the bottom below that are just the suspended amount of the main Ormus material. So it'll actually look like this layer,
this chart.
Like this chart and the separated of it of 2
and
different.
So the easy zone is
the
gas
of the water, and then the mercury is your anode, and what's going down into it. So that's your positive charge going in. What's breaking off of your anode metal goes down and precipitates into the reaction, and whatnot.
What's the orange one?
So the orange, it's yellow, sulfur. So sulfur is up, that's the cathode. So that's your hydrogen gas going up, your oxygen gas going up, all the reactions off the cathode side going up. So that's any material that is in gas or plasma, like ionized gas state, goes up. And then your anode side, the mercury, is what's breaking down off the anode going down into the jar, any liquid or any solids material into the reactor.
And that's again, like, I mean, that, the 3, right? Trinity. On the bottom line, the orange orb, what's that? Because that's the Globus Crucifix.
Oh, that's Mars.
Oh, Mars. Also, Bern, what connection have these got? Because these are all over cathedrals and over churches.
Yeah,
like these are sitting on top of domes and things like that. So what is the connection there?
So I will explain that. I'll give you a little brief rundown on it. But first, before that, for more context, so the first the 3 principles, that's electrolysis alchemy, right? Anode, cathode, and water, salt water jar reaction that happens. Now, the 4 elements, first you have a triangle going up, and that's fire. Well, fire is plasma, and plasma is our 4th state of elements. So that is plasma state. Your next one is a triangle with a line going through, close to the top, still going up, and that is air. What is air? Air is a gas. That is your 3rd state of matter. Yeah. And then the second is a triangle going down, and that is water. What is water? Water is a liquid. That is your second state of matter, and it's gravity-wise goes down, right? So the first two, fire, flame goes up, gas goes up. Water goes down, and what's the last one? Another triangle down with a strike. That's earth. What is earth? That is a solid. Solids also sink. Solids go down. So that's actually your 4 states of any element, your 4 states of matter. And then it has the plus the elements. Well, what's plus elements? That's whatever element you're using, aka the periodic table of elements. So it's the 4 states of matter of the periodic table of elements, and it applies to all of them. And the alchemists also have an entire, I don't have the image loaded right now on this one, we'll do it in the next one, but there's an entire periodic table of alchemical symbols where every single element has its own alchemy symbol, and they're actually very deep meanings in purposeful physics and chemistry and all energy, all of that they're put into them. And
the bottom ones, of course, are wandering stars or planets. So, like, you know, the orange one is Mars.
So, heavenly bodies. You got it.
So, literally, if we find that symbol, that could be something that when Mars is in, I'm not an astrologer, but when Mars is whatever doing it, you know, has influence over us.
You got it. You're getting onto the key part. So, in the center, we have the sun, and what is it but a circle with a dot in it? That is the exact same symbol that we use for the right-hand rule of electromagnetisms, a current flowing, a field going around it. And what is the sun? But it is our energy and our source of energy and current. And it is represented by the metal gold. So gold is attached to the sun. Gold is our most precious metal, and it is also has the highest electrical properties and components of it. And thus, I'm suspecting that gold is actually tied, like how energy flows through gold is probably tied to the position of the sun every day.
I wonder if that flower symbol that we see everywhere, you know, that sort of flower circle symbol that's everywhere. I wonder if that's an adaptation of the sun. You know, that it kind of looks like it's got kind of petals, but they're not petals. It's like this. It's the same as you see on the watches. They have it on the watches of the Sumerians, that, you know, and that kind of stuff. It's
yeah, I know what you're saying. That one,
if that's a sun symbol.
Yeah, it could be like when it's more energized or something, when it's in position. When it's
that would be like the sun rays. It'd be like that, just a bit more detailed. I don't know, just a thought, because I'm sure they all relate to something.
A key aspect of this planets and metals and that full circle. The full circle happens when that planet, moon, or star is in its central noon position, right? So it would be, or like when we have a full moon, that's when the moon would be in that full energy spectrum on this chart. The symbol for the moon here, and it's on the far left, is a little tiny crescent, and it's got silver is the metal that is attached, the alchemist attached to the moon, just like gold is the sun, silver is the moon. And what's beyond fascinating as heck to me, and I've demonstratively proved it now live several times through the streams online, both on Alien Scientist channel as well as my own too, is that when the moon is a full moon, and you're making monoatomic silver, it produces a whole bunch of it.
Exactly.
We're in a half moon right now. Now you can see it's a slower reaction compared to the zinc, and it's a lot slower than when I've made it on full moons. You see it's still clouding up, and it's making it, and it will particulate, but not nearly at the same rate that it was during a full moon. And then when you get to an empty moon, when it's like crescent, whack, or waning, or whatever, when it doesn't show at all. Also, I've demonstrated it during a full moon eclipse, that I had it making the monoatomic, and it was making a whole bunch of it because it was a full moon. And then as the eclipse happened, it literally stopped making at all. I set up the same experiments, or had it pre-set up. I ran it again as the eclipse happened. Nothing was produced at all during that stream. That's actually on the Alien Scientist channel where we did these live experiments during the eclipse, and nothing was produced. And then the exact same setup I then ran a couple hours after the eclipse was over, and sure enough, boom, again, it started producing a whole bunch of the monoatomic silver because
so we need to run one through an eclipse, like get started running before the eclipse and then run it through and see if it goes, turns off, and then turns on again.
Yeah, no, that's what I did. That's how
that's
it
what
was.
You did
it started it off a bit, and it started making a bunch. I like plugged it in just before the eclipse started.
Oh, okay.
And it like started, and then it just fizzled out and nothing for 3 hours.
And so this is what those symbols on the domes could be. They could literally all be set up on certain energy points, like to do with whatever the moon. So when it's a full moon, the full moon ones are pumping stuff out. When it's
tin, Saturn is lead, Mars is iron, Venus is copper, Mercury is mercury. So that's all the metals that they build with, the domes, the everything, right?
Exactly.
And that's why you're seeing those symbols, and are they pulling energies out of those specific domes, those resonators, those capacitors, when the heavenly bodies that represent those elements are in their position, in their full amounts, or in their occulting empty amounts, and then there's no energies, and they're able to drain it. And this actually adds a whole level of possible validity to astrology.
It's the plasma coming from these wandering wandering stars, these planets and heavenly bodies. Is that literally like they're, I don't know, giving the frequency, right? So that when that's a frequency, it will produce more gold if it's the sun, on a equinox or whatever, if it's the moon on a full moon. So it could be a whole thing. And the other thing I want to mention is looking at that Mercury symbol. That dude's clearly got horns, right? Do you think that's what the horn symbolism could be?
No, what I think it is representing is that's like a waxed or waned moon or a planet or whatnot when it's on its outermost of the cycle, and that the direction of the force is up. Because they also have some with it going down and then also like sideways and stuff. And you see here Jupiter and Saturn, how it's across, and then you have the crescent up like that on one end, and then on the other it's at the bottom and going the opposite way. I theorize it's showing the direction of the forces by which way it's opening up to, as well as if it's a negative force or a positive force, depending. That cross is a chart of the position of where it's going around in it. So it's literally graphs, these energy graphs.
All these planets could have different charges.
Graph symbol of the positions of these bodies, these energies, and where they are, and then how they interact with each other. Is it energy up? Is it energy down? Is it in a negative, a positive? Like it.
Wow. Yeah. All right. Well, let's save that. We'll have to go into that into detail. There's a lot in there to sort of get the concept across. But
100%.
In a sentence, it's basically, do these symbols represent planets that they're somehow attached or connected to on an energetic level? So there we go, guys. You all know how to make your own monoatomic silver now. So obviously
and gold and colloidals.
So you can watch this again, and obviously any questions you can contact Burneye. But
whatever you do, if it turns out blue, throw it away in a safe manner, sealed manner, because it's become poisonous essentially, or at least don't touch it, don't ingest it. It will cause heavy metal poisoning. Same with the red, and you don't want to be dead. Diatomic, not just because it's two particles, but because you will die. And don't touch red;
plants.
It'll make you dead.
It's all for plants, guys. This is a plant show. This is to be consumed by your plants and not by yourself, if you know what I mean. But definitely, any questions, ask, before you just try and take a chance. But
and
9
if you
watches,
don't know what you're doing,
pure gold,
don't
pure
touch it
silver.
at all because it's very poisonous and risky
Mm.
and dangerous to an uncontrolled environments. And there's a question up: is this something from Keshi's work? Absolutely. It's advanced alchemy, but it does include a lot of Keshi technology and knowledge. I've been studying under him for a good decade now.
So keshiorganization.org and rexresearch.com. You'll be able to find lots more information. And of course, Bernie's channel, the Crypto Alchemist, and Burneye Mind's Eye. Is that the other one? Is that the one that your clone runs?
Yes, sir. My monetized smaller channel is Burneye Mind's Third Eye ScienceGuy. I'm posting the link for that right now in the live chat. And then my second is Crypto Alchemist. I'll post that after. And then I will post Cambell's. And then I will post Paul's. And then we will call her a day.
All right. And yes, Eric, whatever you do, people, do not unalive yourself. Too much of that going on already. We don't want to help that foul chi guy.
Were there some guys that went blue from drinking monoatomic silver? Colloidal silver in America.
Diatomic. Exactly. You got it. It's diatomic. This blue silver, right? That's what they're doing. It's since it's not monoatomic, it's diatomic, and then it's small enough that it's able to absorb through your pores, but it's big enough that it actually attaches onto the cells and collects and accumulates into that heavy metal accumulation and poisoning. And that's the big difference between it and the essentials. And yeah, you will turn blue if you're taking it wrong, if you're taking the diatomic particles and not
the pure
plasma.
Unalive, or did he survive?
No, many die. If you turn blue, you're well into heavy metal poisoning, and you don't have.
Time for another poem. If you go blue, you're pretty much through. Thank you very much.
Right?
Mate, Cam, you need to be a rapper. You need some gold chains, some baggy clothes, and you're all right.
A hat, a backwards hat, sideways hat. All right, I'm into it. I'll have to change my name to AutoDidactic.
Auto-diraption.
Auto-dirapture. Oh, God, dirap chick. Rap dude. Auto-dirap dude.
Sorry, Kel.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
watch out. What's his name now? Bloody Yay.
Yee.
Watch out, yeah. Coming for you. Yee. Coming for you, Yee.
All right. Also, subscribe to Paul Cook, putting his link in right now.
Oh, that's interesting. That's how you get golden eggs. The goose that laid the golden eggs. Interesting.
Do you know about, I just want to jump in quickly. Have you heard about eggs being laid when lightning strikes?
No, I think I've probably seen it in a cartoon or two, but no.
Yeah, it leaves some sort of mineral crystal stuff. People go searching for the eggs.
Really?
Yeah, check it out, man.
So they search for them just if it's a random occurrence, or does the lightning actually make some chickens lay eggs?
Well, the guy that told me this was a guy from Africa, and he was in the church, and I just popped in there to see if the organ was in there, and then having a conversation with him for about half hour about this stuff, because he was going, "Oh, you know about eggs, do you? Coming from the lightning?" And I was like, "What are you on about, mate?"
What?
I thought I'll have a listen and see what he's got to say, because he was actually a retired pilot, just working in the church. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, man. And he was like, yeah, so basically there's people in Africa that go around waiting for lightning to strike and then go into that place and then collecting the eggs because they're worth money. And I don't mean eggs like...
So it's more eggs that they can already be in the nest, and it's when the charge comes, it affects them.
I don't mean eggs as in like with animals in it. I mean eggs with like minerals in it.
Oh,
you'll have to check it out. You'll have to check it out, man. It's really interesting. It's not like an egg you can crack. It's more like when you smash it, it's like a crystal inside.
Yeah, like thunder eggs and stuff. Wow, okay.
Yeah, well, there you go. Thunder eggs. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah. Well, and that's an interesting name, right? If they're created by lightning.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get it up. Thunder eggs.
Heck yeah, that'd be an awesome way to end the stream.
Yeah, they're quite expensive, you know. Yeah, look, yeah, I've got. Like, if I can share my screen, quick.
Yeah.
I'll do this quick, right? Thunder eggs. I won't go into too much. I'll just show you. These are thunder eggs.
I can't see it yet.
So you look at them, look, thunder eggs, like rock filled with geo, filled with volcanic ash layers.
Yeah, geodes and stuff. Yeah.
Let's have a look. Let's look at this one.
That's some fascinating stuff. My name is Burneye, just to play on Bill Nye, the fake science guy. I'm Burneye, the man's third eye science guy.
Without the
bird. See that? See, that's what it creates. These.
It's the Paul. It's you might be sharing the wrong.
We might have a lag.
It's staying the same right now.
Oh, there you go. Sorry, mate.
We've still got like the first search screen. Oh.
Yeah, so I got rid of them. Just so you can see anyway. There's loads there. Just
everyone's seen them when you crack them open and they've got like crystals inside them and stuff.
Oh, like a geode.
Yeah, like a geode.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that the proper name? Geode, yeah.
But that's a thunder egg. That's fascinating.
Yeah, thunder. I mean, caused by lightning, right?
Yeah.
Lightning,
oh wow! Look at
thunder. There you go. There's one. Oh,
what just fell out of that, mate?
Did he just have a poo? There you go. That's a geode or a thunder egg. So interesting. Are they caused by lightning strikes?
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? And unless I've not looked into it. It's only what the guy told me about it. But another thing that comes to mind, maybe the lightning struck the rock and created that crystal stuff inside it. Don't know.
Yeah,
I actually don't know.
Yeah. Direct hits and stuff. Yeah. Well, this is the thing. Like what we're finding out is all this stuff that they, geology, right? Well, especially you're finding it out. Everything they tell us, that takes 10 million years to get created. It's all crap. Most of it's created pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah, it is. It's all a load of cobblers. It's in my eyes. But we'll save that for another day. That one.
Yeah,
it's a big topic. That.
All right, where's Bernie gone? Has he run off?
Can you hear me?
We can.
I can hear you, mate.
All right.
Yeah. So just lastly, showing the crazy amount of foam here.
Wow.
That is crazy.
So amino acids that's formed off of the one that has a couple drops of my blood in it.
The blood of Bernie. So stay tuned to watch a vampire pop out.
And now you can see how white the jar is being filled with the monoatomic zinc off of it.
Wow.
And also always bubbling off of your cathode side is hydrogen gas plus what's known as Brown's gas, or the combinations of HHO and H4 and atomic hydrogen, all of which key parts of the hydrogen fuel revolution, and that just a small amount of electricity can be going into some salt water, could be powering our vehicles and all of our energy infrastructure. And instead of CO2, it would be H2O, water that comes out as exhaust. It would be steam instead of carbon dioxide that comes out.
Man, steampunk. Let's get back to it.
And so lastly, only this pure white is the safe, healthy monoatomic aspect or material. The blue, the red, the yellow, the purple, anything but the white. Sadly, I guess alchemy is racist. I don't know, but all the colors will poison and kill you. And I didn't just say that. I'm sorry. Blue beings, you will die. Blue is bad.
Blue beam, red beam. All right. Well, there you go, guys. Thank you for everyone who's stayed here for 2 hours or who's been here for any amount of time, really, on any of our 3 channels. Make sure you have subscribed, liked, all that, so that you catch all our future uploads. And we'll be back next week with another one, and we're going to continue this and really start trying to get out some videos to give you all the tools to make some practical stuff. I think the 2 years of sitting behind a computer discussing stuff are over, and 2023 is the year to get out there and start doing stuff with all this information we've collected. So it's time to set up your mad scientist lab in a shed near you. Like the man shed, let's make the mad scientist shed a thing. Hashtag mad scientist
and
shed.
If anybody wants to support my research, I'm not just needing money. If you have an extra signal generator, a variac, and I desperately need a mass spectrometer, we got a couple donations towards it between me and Zertus. Actually, I think we actually got that covered, and we're going to be getting it. But I still desperately need signal generators, a couple different types, as well as 2 variacs to be able to take this alchemy, cold fusion, transmutation science to the next level, as well as the star in a jar replication of the cold fusion that Jeremiah, who's actually watching right now, JP joined the technicians, replicated a couple of times in the streams, where when you create the arc, that plasma arc in this electrolysis reaction, circle back to the very beginning when we were talking about ball lightning, the arcs, and that ionized state of matter, that when you get enough voltage in, that the plasma arc forms between the anode and the cathode in the water, the atomic hydrogen that was being formed from the electrolysis actually transmutates into helium in that plasma arc, and then you're now producing helium out of the hydrogen out of the water, which is 100% undeniable nuclear cold fusion of one element into another. And that's going to be another major goal for us to be replicating and getting done this spring and summer.
All righty. Well, there you go, guys. So again, thank you for spending some time with us. Thank you for all the donations across all the channels. We do appreciate you. And thank you for everyone who shares our content, likes us, and just watches us. We appreciate you all. And of course, if you can or want to support, you'll find links on all our channels with all that stuff we want to do. It's not for our own pockets most of the time. It goes straight back out into, trying to get more information out there for you guys. So, thank you, everyone. We love you all. And we'll talk to you. We'll be back as a trio next week, apparently.
Absolutely, we are.
Definitely.
All right. Much love.
Yeah, big up, Tigers. Thanks, everyone, for being here. And thanks for the donations. Burn, thanks for your expertise in this as well, man. And Cam, me and you were spectators today. Why
we were.
Bernie took the show away, eh?
It was a classroom.
I was the court poet and a spectator.
It went from AutoDidactic to community learning today, and it was awesome to share it with you guys. I'm glad people are taking interest into it. And big time disclaimer, this was definitely not health advice. Only experiment with these waters on plants, never on yourself, because I don't know, because never done it, but you probably die if you ingested like that. Exactly. A glass of this stuff. And so
for gardening uses, guys.
You have to wear safety equipment to handle it and all of that, and be careful. Don't harm yourselves. Love you all.
Great power comes great responsibility.
Well said. Bye.